For 10,000 years, human civilization has relied on a simple, unspoken agreement with the Earth. If we take care of the soil, plant with the seasons, and trust the rains, the planet will feed us. But today, that ancient contract is breaking. Our atmosphere is warming faster than ever before in human history. And at the front lines of this ecological shift are the men and women who feed the world. Agriculture is entirely at the mercy of the weather. But as global temperatures climb, the reliable patterns farmers have trusted for generations are vanishing, replaced by a chaotic, unpredictable climate. From the modern breadbaskets of the West to small subsistence plots in the global South, a silent crisis is unfolding. This is the story of how climate change is radically disrupting the global food supply and what it means for the future of humanity. To many, a 1 or 2 degree rise in global temperature sounds minor. But in the world of agriculture, a fraction of a degree is the difference between a bountiful harvest and total failure. A groundbreaking study from the Stanford Dorr School of Sustainability has revealed a chilling reality. Rising global temperatures are severely dampening the world's capacity to produce staple crops. The research found that for every single degree Celsius of global warming, the planet loses an average of 120 calories per person per day. To put that into perspective, if the planet warms by 3 degrees Celsius, it is functionally equivalent to every single person on Earth giving up breakfast. We aren't just talking about a threat to the distant future. The study models show that by the year 2050, climate change will drag global crop yields down by 8%, and this is locked in, regardless of how aggressively we cut emissions today. The carbon already trapped in our atmosphere ensures this damage will persist. If emissions continue unchecked, staple crop yields could plummet by a staggering 24% by the end of the century. And contrary to popular belief, it isn't just developing nations bearing the brunt. The wealthiest, most technologically advanced breadbaskets, like the United States, are projected to see some of the steepest losses, with yield capacities dropping by up to 41%. To understand how this happens, we must look at how climate change alters the daily reality of farming, water, and weather. Consider Thailand, where nearly 1 in 5 people depend on agriculture. In places like Phetchabun Province, farmers who once relied on steady monsoon cycles now face radical uncertainty. Some years, intense, prolonged dry seasons scorch the soil before maize or rice can even flower. In other years, the sky opens up with unprecedented fury. This is the paradox of a warming world. It intensifies both drought and deluge. When rain does fall, it increasingly arrives in violent short bursts. In regions like New South Wales, Australia, scientists are tracking this precise phenomenon. Less rain is falling during the crucial winter and spring growing seasons. When downpours do hit, they cause severe hillslope erosion. The rain falls so fast and hard that the earth cannot absorb it. The water rushes across the surface, washing away the precious topsoil, the vital, nutrient-rich layer that takes centuries to form. At the same time, warmer temperatures accelerate a hidden degradation, the loss of soil organic carbon. As soil carbon declines, the earth loses its structure, its ability to hold nutrients, and its capacity to retain water. Even after a massive flash flood, the ground beneath the surface can remain completely dry. The land is literally drying to dust. When the land suffers, people starve. Today, nearly 1 billion people go to bed hungry. This isn't because the world lacks the space to grow food, but because of deep inequities in how food is produced and accessed, inequities that climate change aggressively multiplies. Organizations like Heifer International and Oxfam are witnessing the human toll of this crisis firsthand. In the Horn of Africa, communities recently endured 5 failed rainy seasons in a row. The result? Over 80 million people plunged into severe food insecurity. When crops fail and livestock die from heat stress and lack of water, subsistence farmers lose both their food supply and their only source of income. The crisis is forcing millions to make a desperate choice: stay and starve or abandon their ancestral lands. In just 10 of the world's worst climate-hit countries, escalating droughts and floods force people to flee their homes 8 million times in a single year, more than double the rate seen a decade ago. This scarcity breeds a vicious cycle. As arable land and clean water shrink, conflict and competition over remaining natural resources intensify. Communities break apart, livelihoods vanish, and global food prices spike, hitting the world's poorest consumers the hardest. Can we simply adapt our way out of this? The Stanford study delivered a sobering warning. Adaptation alone is not a silver bullet. Current data shows that the economic adjustments and adaptive measures farmers take will only offset about 23% of climate-related crop losses by 2050. But while adaptation cannot completely stop the bleeding, it is the only line of defense millions of farmers have left. Look closely at the ground level, and you will see incredible resilience. In Thailand, through the UN Development Program's Scala initiative, farmers are fighting back using data and local innovation. Maize farmers like Kritsana Thongfeng have turned to meticulous record-keeping. By tracking sowing dates, shifting rainfall, and pest outbreaks over years in field notebooks, and combining that knowledge with AI and digital weather forecasting tools, they are learning to outsmart the volatile weather. Others are switching to homemade organic fertilizers to revive dead soil, reducing their reliance on expensive, chemical inputs that are becoming less effective in the heat. Governments are also stepping up. In New South Wales, strategies are underway to help farmers shift to entirely new crop varieties and livestock breeds that thrive in hotter climates. Regenerative agriculture practices are being adopted to restore soil health, and sections of farmland are being dedicated to tree planting, not just to shade vulnerable animals from heat stress, but to actively pull carbon out of the atmosphere. The message from our fields, our scientists, and our farmers is clear. The climate crisis is a food crisis. We can no longer treat agriculture as separate from environment. Every fraction of a degree we prevent from warming saves millions of tons of grain, protects billions of calories, and keeps families on their land. Supporting small-scale farmers, particularly women, who produce much of the world's food yet bear the brunt of climate inequality, is no longer just an act of charity. It is a matter of global survival. The soil has sustained us for millennia. Now it is up to us to protect the climate that sustains the soil. Because if we let the climate depreciate, the rest of human progress will wash away with the topsoil.